Chambers, right?
It stopped working.
I texted Janine and Mark, the two other people that were in executive session, so
We good?
Yes.
Okay,
just watch for Janine and Mark.
Mhm.
report of treasurer.
Oh, let's see. Okay, the month of August. And project fees for 22,500, those are application fees and legal fees that are being held. Gas lease revenue for $60.81, you had interest on the savings account for $40.75. Total income for the month was $22,601.56. Expenses for the month, we had a bill for Harris Beach for $4,550. You had NICEX bills for $418.44. Your total expense was $4,968.44. And your net income was $17,633.12.
The Harris Beach bill will be directed towards specific projects.
Justin said he'll create a breakdown, or it's gonna take him some
No,
time.
I don't need to do it now.
Hey, Taylor,
Hey, John.
for the second page of your treasurer's presentation,
Uh-huh.
can you expand your
Oh, yeah.
columns? So we can see the rest of the,
Send it to you, John, so you can have your balances. Duck.
There a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
I do.
second,
Motion made and seconded. Is there questions for the treasurer? All in favor? Opposed? New business. Project authorizing resolution, PG Auburn MOD LLL LLC project.
So as we all know, we had the public hearing yesterday. There were no attendees, no comments on the project. Let's move forward. Everybody at this point has had a chance to take a look at the project as described, including that application itself. Mr. Photoist and Mr. Leish are here as well to answer any questions regarding the project.
I think it's very, very nice that both of you could take time to come here instead of being on the stupid screen.
Happy to.
Yeah. Uh, I discussed a little bit about where you were with an agreement between the hospital and the developer. Is that agreement?
Okay, can I just give this, this is really the underwriting process and the letter from the Department of Health and the due diligence that they do in regards to all of this. And their approval letter, I know it came up yesterday, timing and whatnot. So August 8th, we got the contingent approval for the CON, and that's the letter. And then on the third page, it's the contingencies that are required for them to approve the certificate of need. So in there, I mean, this is their, due diligence, their contingency approvals that they go through to approve the project. So as you can see in there, it says approval of the lease, approval of the bank letter with Andy, the approval of the financing for the equipment on there. So we're working through all of those items right now with the Department of Health.
As well as all the operating economics, right? They look at the,
Yeah.
your.
Thank you very much for bringing it
Yeah,
out.
just so you know, but I know it was the timing
You would think.
of that, but why wasn't it done ahead of time? We got the approval on August 8th, that letter. And now it's going through all those processes to get it done by October 7th. So we've been busy working on all of the items, and getting that. We did have a purchase and sale agreement in place approved by our board that outlined the terms of the lease and the agreement. And we've just been finalizing language, but we have to go through our process there, get it to our board, right? So that they can, do the final sign off, they signed off on the original one, get it to the Department of Health, and then get them to sign off, to even get the project to go through. And I know I've reiterated this a number of times, there are a lot of hoops to go through, and again, they, in this process with the Department of Health, that they approved, right, to keep moving on it, right? They've looked at all of our financials, it went through the planning meeting at the state board, that was a public meeting, planning council, and then went through their final approval there, so. And the Department of Health is, that's our regulator, that's our backstop. It's the Department of Health, so.
I don't know that it's any of our business, but one of the things that came to my mind was the transfer of the real estate from the hospital to the developer. Did you receive anything for that transfer?
We have not done that yet.
You've not transferred
No,
the real estate?
we can't until the Department of Health approves the whole deal.
Okay.
So we gotta get their approval on this before, so we're trying to line everything up at once. Quickly to meet the construction season, and there's a lot of earth moving involved in that, in that lot, because of the slope there. So that's it's all, we've been working on it for a while with the Department of Health, but things move slow, and now it's, okay, how do we get all of this done?
That was a holdup when you bought the nursing home, was getting the approval from the Department of Health.
Yeah, it's, New York State government works slow, they still have to approve and they're bombarded with that. So we understand, and they've been great to work with. But we also have to get all the building plans approved, so that's a separate process through the Architectural Bureau. It's in that contingency also, and they've been submitted for months, and we're at, they got to the second level, but it's like, we're working on it. So if I can remove some of these financial contingencies, and I think I've got the equipment lease, that's to them today, for the varying equipment to CT, then after that step, at least I got one done, okay? And now if I can clear this stuff, there's two, and now we can then say, okay, architecturals, where are you at with that? So we've been following up regularly, we meet every week on this project with Upstate, ourselves, the architect, for the last 8 months. Every week, so they're everyone else to speak.
So can I just ask,
Wait, what?
Jason, one of the, part of our due diligence is to see a lease between the parties. This is a little bit different, or very different than pilots that this board traditionally sees. One, it's in the city of Auburn, but two, it's not like a holding company for a factory with the same ownership. It's a different developer, totally different than the operator, Auburn Community Hospital, that we're all aware of. And I think that's one of the reasons why there's concern that the board wants to see, the lease, to see what, just to follow up on a lot of the discussion that was made at the public hearing regarding defaults and whatnot, but that was, that's part of our due diligence, just like the Department of Health has a punch list. This board said, a part of our due diligence is to see the arrangement between your two entities when you're seeking a pilot.
So I'll just introduce myself because I met you all through the video, and I agree it's always nicer to be here in person. It's too bad for a couple of years we couldn't do that, but I'm Andy Bodowitz with Park Grove Realty. And I just want to add to your comment, which I think in terms of the lease, and I think Justin can jump in here, but the arrangement we have is a very typical arrangement when you have a situation where there's a healthcare facility. It happens a lot. It happens all the time where a developer is working with a healthcare institution to help provide the financing and ability to bring one of these projects to fruition. It's typical where there's a parcel of property that's developed, either it's sold back to the developer from the hospital and then developed by the developer and then leased back to the hospital. And that's very typical. I think Justin can probably tell you that he does more of these than I do. But the second thing is that we have provided, I think when we started this process, we provided a purchase agreement that we have with the hospital that outlines the key conditions of our lease with the hospital. And that purchase agreement outlines all that stuff. So you do have that, you've had it. And that kind of gives you the essential terms of our deal. As I've said, I think previously it's a 20-year lease for the hospital with a 10-year extension. But the key part is that the hospital, from the very beginning, Jason said to me, we want the option to buy it after 5 years. And so the hospital does have that option after 5 years. You know, they couldn't do it without our help, and we're really pleased to have the opportunity to help them with this project. We think it's a great project. And it's a very typical type of arrangement. The parcel in question is, as you guys all know, a parking lot. It currently does not yield any tax revenue. And at the end of the day, through this pilot, it's going to create the opportunity for a great asset to be in the community, a healthcare specialty service that's not currently available. And in addition, will yield far greater tax revenue to the community than it's yielding right now. And without this pilot, the hospital couldn't do this project. So it really is essential and critical to help make that.
So if I could ask, October 6th you mentioned October 6th.
Yeah, 60 days, the letter there
Oh.
says 60 days.
Okay.
on the date of the letter.
Okay. So, and then so I'm still I'm not understanding why you don't have a lease. I understand the
We
need
don't
for
have
the
it
pilot.
finalized. We're working through it right now. It's not final. As I said the other day, it's very close. But it's not final.
Okay, but what, as Rick mentioned, one of the things that we do want to look at and we need.
Yeah, we have a draft, John, and that's subject to revision based on interest rate locks, the finishes on the building, total construction costs, things like that. So that working draft that we've received will be firmed up as part of closing. And we'll have, by requirement, we're going to have that lease as part of the IDA's closing transcript. And I know there were questions at the public hearing regarding, what happens if the IDA, or pardon me, if the hospital were to aid or whatever. But to clear up that confusion, the IDA project description involves leasing that building to the hospital for a cancer center. So there really isn't any way to convert the IDA project or assign the pilot for any other purpose. I just wanted to make sure that folks are comfortable with that.
So Justin, you're comfortable with us, the IDA, proceeding, discussing or approving a pilot without a signed lease?
Well, we have a draft. They're not going to sign it until the day of closing. It's going through DOH approvals. It's going through lender approvals. We're going through approvals. All these things will culminate in an actual closing. Ask for it up. If the hospital and Andy are comfortable with that, I'm fine.
So it's contingent, so the pilot obviously is contingent on you closing anyway, so. I mean, it's not like,
Right,
You know what I mean?
again, there's no, if we don't close, there's no
Right.
pilot, and we haven't acquired the property, so you're not giving us any tax break for anything. I mean, we have to actually go through with this to get the benefit, and they're not gonna transfer us property if we're not gonna build them so.
And I think everybody's very supportive of the project and of the hospital. I think the only concern we had was that, obviously that the building stays as a medical use, and I think you've addressed that.
Well, I think he addressed it to the point that he didn't commit to that it would always be a medical use. I mean, that's kind of hard to say. And what did you say?
Well, I can't imagine, I think what I said the other day, and I still hold to it, is if something happened to the hospital, we would try to find another medical use for it, and that's what makes sense. You can't really convert this type of facility to
But
a retail store or anything like that. It's a medical building. The costs that are associated with it are a medical building, and it just isn't easily convertible to anything else. And so, look, if it's not Auburn Community Hospital, it's somebody else that's gonna be operating that hospital, and that's who we'd be working with to have them in there. It's just.
So if the hospital buys it within the 5 years, then it'd be tax exempt status.
Correct.
How is this gonna,
Well, I'll leave that to Justin, but I think.
how does this affect the pilots and everything?
Go to the beginning. When the hospital transfers the acre to Andy's organization, it's a taxable event. It would normally go on the tax rolls and be fully taxable. The IDA pilot closing with that transaction will continue to keep that acre on the exempt rolls, and we have a pilot structure that we've put together and was just public hearing yesterday that will provide up to 15 years of benefits. Does that answer your question?
Yep, thank you.
And then if the hospital buys it back, it obviously comes off the tax rolls again.
It would stay exempt. We would collapse the IDA transaction, terminate the pilot, and then would be able to go to the assessor and place that or retain that acre on the exempt rolls by virtue of their 501c3 status.
Makes sense.
Further questions?
my concern is not it being on the tax rolls or not. My concern is that we do not do something that would be negative for the long-term benefit of the hospital. I talked to Mr. Miller before the meeting about how can the hospital make the lease payments on this if they could not borrow the money and do the repayment, and there has to be some type of a escalating cost for the developer to get involved with this. That's probably none of my business, but that's a concern that I have. I've been thinking about this. I would make the motion that we approve the pilot, subject to any transfer of that pilot. We would have the ability to not approve the transfer. Justin, is that unrealistic?
No, that's fully realistic. And just to answer your question, what like one have cash flow or debt issues, if they were to go borrow to build this project themselves, their cost of debt would be a lot more than Andy's organization going to access commercial real estate debt markets. So it makes sense and balances out for the hospital and provides an opportunity for Andy's to be a facilitator for them. On your question on assignment, all IDA transaction documents, we include a provision that any proposed assignment has to go to the IDA for consideration. In this particular case, even a higher bar because the project description includes the specific words cancer center, includes a specific tenant, the Auburn Hospital. So the concept of the pilot being portable to another organization is I don't see it happening. I see the most likely event here, the hospital getting into a better position and facility themselves. I think that's the more likely route.
I don't want to eliminate discussion, but I would move that we,
I just have one, just if I could, her, a question.
okay,
So it's a $14 million project. It's 14 million, assuming the benefits. If you don't get the benefits, the project jumps to,
So it's 14 million, which includes the cost of the building as well as the equipment.
okay,
And we're providing the building and the hospital is leasing the equipment.
right.
So that 14 is the total. We can't do the project if we don't get the benefits. So I don't know that I have an answer other than that. I think it's if they can't get.
So if you don't get the benefits, the project's higher than 14 million.
Well, the capital side of the project is still 14 million, but to be able to operate it with full taxes from day one, I don't think the hospital.
No, we
could do
couldn't,
it.
300,000 now.
Okay,
No,
Okay.
no.
But as you go through the 15 years, that escalates up.
The taxes will begin to build up, they'll slowly, gradually get higher, but at that point, I don't wanna speak for the hospital, but Jason and his team and consultants, as well as the state, have reviewed all of the projections on their revenue to cover the costs of making lease payments and taxes, and I'm sure that they've already analyzed it.
Yeah, and this is a building block to provide full services for cancer, so, you know, Schumer and Catco put in place a budgetary, ask for a PET scan. So there's a $2.35 million request there. So I mean, I believe this is gonna build upon itself the more we do. I know the CEO is recruiting a pulmonologist who can go in and actually test you really quickly for lung cancer that we're working on. So it's transformative for the hospital, this program. And we just think it's gonna grow, and the need is there. I mean, I've got my wife, there's a lot of.
Oh, I totally agree the need is there.
And it just seems like everyone's coming down with cancer right now. So the quicker we can diagnose it and treat it, the better the outcomes are for everybody. And again, we see everyone regardless of ability to pay. 25% of the patients are Medicaid. On the Medicare side, a lot of them are dual eligible. They're Medicare and they have Medicaid, so they're poor too. So when you add it all up, this provides access to them. And for Medicare, it's tough to travel to Syracuse. These are intensive radiation, intensive services for weeks. So, but it's a building block. The radiation side isn't a huge moneymaker for us. It's the whole services, and our state is working with us, which is fantastic, to provide that additional support, as they've done for the infusion center.
Well, I second the motion.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
in way less than 15 years, we're gonna know whether financially this was a good deal for the hospital or not. They either will be able to eventually buy it and have it back off of the tax roll, or they're gonna lose it, one or the other. It's not gonna take 15 years to determine that. But I think all of us think it's a very, very important project for the hospital and for the community. And I just really hope that you two guys get together the best arrangement for the hospital in this agreement.
So let me ask, worst case scenario, in a year you can't meet the lease payments, what happens?
It's just like any other situation. If they're in default, we have to, we don't have any special provisions about default. We have the remedies that you would normally have if somebody doesn't pay their rent. So I can't answer it other than that.
Okay, well,
You gotta go see the nasty banker.
I'm positioning him for that. No, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, So you take the building back. I mean, that would be your normal remedy. Of course, you'd sue, then you take
Yeah,
the
if
the
it makes it-
building
if
back.
it-
Do we want to do that? No, I wouldn't want to.
No, I'm not throwing shade on the project.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, in my mind, walk through it. So you take the building back. The building's really set up to be for medical purposes for the most part. So you would go ahead and ask another medically related organization to come in. But, so maybe this is Justin, we can, the pilots drop off at that point, because then you wouldn't be working with the hospital, you would be working with some other organization. How does that work, Justin? Would the pilot drop off and we'd have to give another pilot if it's somebody else, or?
John, I wanted to be part of the resolution that we have the final say on whether they can transfer the pilot.
No,
to
that's
somebody else.
right, yeah, and I know, I'm just trying to walk through with these guys and with Justin, so if,
If
go ahead.
there's a disruption, we're probably gonna know about it. And if Andy were to come to our organization, at that point, probably not with the hospital, and ask for an assignment, we would look at our documents and say, well, this is supposed to be a cancer center for Auburn Hospital. Andy would probably have to do a workout and probably place another tenant. At that time, we would, in the midst, probably terminate the pilot, go back on the tax rolls. Andy could come to us and say, hey, I have a different project, a different tenant, and it's in the medical field. Would the IDA entertain that? And you could at that time, but you're not bound to it. You have a pretty well-defined project and a deliverable that involves the hospital at this point.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
We have a motion and a second.
We did, didn't we?
We should do a roll call.
Yes.
Mr. Lockwood?
Gina, do you have a question?
No,
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Lockwood?
Yes.
Mr. Lattimore? Mr. Latinishton?
Yes.
Mr. Shea? Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Ms. Pino?
yes,
Mr. Rockwood?
Yes.
All members voting aye.
Thank you all, we appreciate it. Appreciate your time and your support. So,
Appreciate yours. Thank you.
We got October 6th.
All right, take care, have a good night.
Take care.
Thank you.
See you, Jason.
Good luck. CCIDA-PG Auburn confirming certificate of chairman of the BOL.
Yeah, that's to get the need to.
Justin, you're cutting in and out.
Yeah, I apologize, and I compliment Taylor on the really good speaker that you have on your table. I hear the paper moving and it cuts me out.
Oh,
Yeah, that's just a signature we need to get out of the chairman before closing. So we'll work with Michael and Taylor to process through the county, and if the county attorney needs to take a look at it, we'll work with them as well.
It doesn't need anything.
No,
It's already been drafted. It's
Okay,
in progress.
got it. CNS Company's engagement letter.
So we received this from Mark Chambers. This is an updated form, which you should have in front of you here from Mark for services to be provided for the sewer line project. Mark, are you there?
Yes, I am. I'm kind of in and out of cell service periodically, but yes, I am.
Is there anything you would like to add to this engagement letter in particular?
Basically, that takes us through the redesign of the force main pump station, the required permitting for that, taking it right through to where we're soliciting bids out to contractors and recommending award to the IDA.
so Mark, let's say we approve this. When would the you used the term reconstruction or you're gonna when would how long will it take you to do the redesign? And then when can we expect to go out to bid?
Well, I put a schedule together as part of that whole EDA application as well. We're gonna have the design done by November 1st. Advertised for bid, receive bids back. I believe I had at the end of the year, if I remember correctly. So it's pretty fast paced to get started, get fired up. Basically have it start so notice to proceed could be issued for like January of 2023.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
This, Mark, this 33,400 include, that will be all of the work that you need to do on this sewer project. That includes the inspection work too, or is that in addition to this?
No, that does not include the inspection. We actually already have an agreement between CNS and IDA for that work already. That was part of the initial phase 2 project.
Yes, I remember.
So we're all set on that end.
Okay, and I don't want to complicate things, but do we have an agreement with the former low bidder yet?
Actually, I was talking with Brad last week, and we're getting closer. Yes, I think I'm hopefully have something here by the end of this week if everything goes well. I think I will. Yes, for you guys to review.
Is it safe to do this contract without an agreement with the former bidder?
I believe it's safe to do this agreement, but before we go out to bid, which is supposed to be at the end of October, we would want, as Justin's indicated before, we would want an agreement with the prior bidder.
And I believe that's going to happen here in the next week or so.
So Mark,
This is okay now, but before we go out to bid, and
You have no problem with us agreeing with this agreement now without an agreement with the former bidder?
correct.
Mark, Rick just said end of October for bids. Did he really mean December?
He said.
No, we're planning on having this thing turned around and ready to roll for going out to bid, which is like a 3-week process when you're putting plans and specs out to bid. Around 3 weeks, so we'll receive bids back, early December, late November. So that's, it's going to put you in close to mid, in the end of the year, basically, by the time we're ready for notice to proceed.
So
To go out to bid. It's different than,
So Mark, on your proposal, item 14, you said project will be ready for bid end of October 2022.
That's correct.
That
Yes,
is correct.
that is correct. Bidding means that I'm able to solicit those plans and specs that we're putting together out to contractors to get pricing back for you guys.
Oh,
so we haven't authorized him to go out to bid yet. That would be something. hopefully,
Right, okay,
at
all
our
right.
Meeting in October.
you said your design will be done November 1st. Maybe that's what's throwing me. And
Yeah.
your redesign, but wouldn't you need that done before you go out to bid?
That's correct. I think on the schedule I had October 31st being done with the design.
Okay, yeah, on this you have ready for bid October of 2022. But when I asked you about your design, you said November 1st. So maybe that's what's throwing me off.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a good month and a little bit more to get this thing ready for the street to bid again.
All right, so by end of October, you should have your redesign. And then you're gonna go out to bid end of October, first day of November. And then
Yes.
we'll be back in about 3 or 4 weeks, let's say. And mid-December, we're looking at selecting the individual or the the business that's gonna do it, and beginning of January, we give them a notice to proceed.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, thanks, Mark.
I'll move we approve it.
Motion made and seconded that we approve the contract with CNS engagement letter. Let's do a roll call vote on that.
I had just one, why does it have to be signed by me?
No, that's the other,
That's a different.
that's a different document. That's the back of the other two. Yeah,
It's page 203.
right.
So I'm still confused here.
That's it.
No, that is one page. The other page is the document before it.
Okay, forget I asked that question.
Next month, could you double sign copy everybody's except for
Herbs.
Marshall?
We could do that.
And if you put them in a 3-ring binder for them, okay.
That's what soil water does. We get a free rate. Okay, let's do a roll call, please. Just for something to do.
Mr. Lockwood,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yeah.
Mr. Shea, Ms. Pino,
Yes.
Mr. Latinishton,
Yes,
Mr. Lattimore, Mr. Rockwood.
Yes.
All members voting aye, carried. Go to work, Mark.
All right, guys, thank you.
Generations Bank CD renewal.
Your CDs are free, no, your 3-month CD matures on October 20th.
And what percent are we up to now?
I can tell you right now.
More than CEDA.
It should be going up, right?
Oh, it's gotta be close to 3%.
yeah, of course, yes. You probably can get 3, but it's gonna be about 3 years to do it.
Wow.
Yeah, no, Doug, I would imagine
If you
3
can
months.
predict 3 years ahead, John, you're gonna be a billionaire.
You never want me to predict anything, Herb.
You were at 0.2.
We
Point.
were,
No, you are
that's at this time,
right now.
and
Yeah.
it renews into what, do you know? Did they give you any rates?
It renews, so you go from October to January.
But what the rate is? What's the-
No, they don't give rates. I've asked, they give you the current rates, but they always tell you the subject to change when you sign.
That's great.
Yep.
I'm not gonna make that motion.
Yeah, no, the,
Jen, you're the expert, man.
no,
I
I,
always send-
without a rate, I mean, it's, can you get on their website and see what?
Yours, actually, your savings account has a higher interest rate than your CD right now.
I believe it. Theirs anyways, yes.
Your savings account is actually at 0.3 and your CD is at 0.2.
And
So you have the option to just move it.
I would,
then
and this
when
is
the
the
rates
only
go up-
CD we've got right
Yep.
now
Mhm.
left, right? Everything else is in the savings.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would recommend we put it into the savings
Put it
at
in the
this,
savings?
at this time, given that we might need the cash for this project. I would recommend, and we're not gonna lose anything because the savings is even paying better.
Yeah, that's smart.
So you're suggesting moving it out of a CD. and
Into,
into a
when
cash
it
position.
matures, put it into our savings, yes.
That's your motion.
That would be my motion.
Second.
Motion made, and seconded that we'd be flush with cash. Is there discussion? All in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Okay, report from the governance
I
committee.
just don't think it's gonna.
We approved all the existing policies without change. We kindly asked for the board's.
I'll move.
Discussion. On favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Update on the sewer line. Did we just have that or?
we're also working through all the EDA requirements. We had a number that were due throughout this month, and so far, so good. We haven't had any issues. We've been in contact with our project lead throughout this process. Next Tuesday is the deadline for a number of things, and we already have the majority of them completed at this point. So we are moving along, no issues.
Great.
Staff update.
The biggest update is we do have an anticipated application coming in for next month potentially. We are reviewing with the applicant right now for the suitability. Not sure.
For the what?
Suitability. Not sure if Maureen and Taylor have any other updates.
What position is this for?
The applicant,
Yeah.
this is energy.
Oh, no, I thought it was staff.
No, it's.
Okay, I'm thinking,
No,
okay, okay, so I think it's staff.
project,
Oh,
project, yeah.
okay.
Anything else? No. Okay, I guess one announcement would be, I'm sure everyone knows that Paul Lattimore's wife passed away.
Oh, I didn't know
And,
that.
oh, okay. It said that the donations were from Matthew House.
Before you leave.
Does this board want to make a donation or individually?
What did we do last month?
You guys did it originally for,
You gotta do it.
you wanna do it individually again?
I think that they said we had to, right? Nothing to do with,
You know, to give gifts, I don't know. I'll do that, which one?
All right, I'll get individually.
Yeah, I'm gonna send donation myself. Yeah.
and you said Matthew House?
Yes.
That's
She
good.
was a-
That's what was in the paper anyway.
Oh,
Yeah.
When did she die?
The need for
I
Rick,
didn't hear.
No, sir, no. My brother texted me Sunday morning.
The individual contributions can go for the Matthew House.
Yeah.
For his wife.
my question was, did we want to send one from the board in general or each individual? I guess each individual.
Yeah.
I ought to send a sympathy card from the board.
Sure,
Thank you.
I can pick up a card.
Any executive session again?
No,
Thank you.
and Paul and I were texting this afternoon, he was asking about the meeting,
Oh.
so he's a great guy, yeah. So.
Upcoming events.
We have ABO training, so you all have completed that.
Not as of.
We have the Cuyahoga County Chamber Annual Dinner. Registration closes tomorrow at 5 p.m. if you guys would like to attend. I can sign you up or you guys can sign yourselves up. And we can just click pay at door and we will handle the bill when Amy bills us. And then we have the virtual auction that goes with the annual dinner, but she has now moved it virtually, which will run for a week's time, starting this Friday, and it goes until the following Friday. So it'll be open through the dinner and then it'll close noon on the 30th.
everybody going?
What about the-
I'm going.
You wanna go?
I'm already signed up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thanks.
When you're
saying
signed up.
about the-
Is Gina going?
I'm gonna check my busy calendar tomorrow, John.
Are you going?
Oh, I don't see that.
What's that?
You wanna eat dinner with me?
Or we-
Come down into your call.
I'll tell you why.
A couple months ago, I asked her to check on the land that your friend wanted to sell us, and I was wondering if she did check on it and what she found out and what her.
I haven't, did you know anything?
I know she has been in discussion with him, so I'm sure she ran upstairs for every notes on it.
I asked her as she was running up there, she said she was gonna run right back.
Oh, so that would be executive session.
Is it?
Yeah.
Depending, yeah, absolutely.
So I'll move to go into executive
And
session.
a possible purchase or sale
Purchase, sale
of real property.
of real property.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're back.
Hold on.
Don't you hate it when he puts words in your mouth?
Only thing keeps me out of trouble.